All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Georgia Music Gamers podcast. You might have noticed a lovely introductory screen there that was produced by Vincent Kim. He's already in the chat.
Oh,
What's up, bro? Pump.
yo, pump.
Oh, Vincent's here? Awesome.
He is here, and we have a full house. A bunch of people in here already, which is great. I appreciate that. We have a couple new faces. First and foremost is Bill, DM ASHURA.
Hi.
Why don't you introduce yourself briefly, Bill?
Okay, my name is Bill Shillito. You'll probably know me as DM ASHURA or DM McPickles or something stupid like that.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, I do music for games and stuff. Yeah, there.
Also an avid music game player, but
Yes, very much so.
he also makes music as well, which is not a lot of what a lot of people can say because his music's actually pretty decent. We have a couple new faces. I see Raven Mac. I don't think you've been in a recording before. Do you want to say hey?
Hi, I'm Ray Mac. I like music games, and I haven't really followed anything since like 2 years ago, and even still, I don't really follow anything. The main games I like to play are Musica and Sound Voltex.
Awesome. Kevin, did you introduce yourself?
This is my first one. I usually am asleep by this point.
Why don't you give yourself an introduction as well?
Hi, I'm Kevin. I also live in Georgia, like everyone here. I'm mostly on this one because I do a lot of the dance group stuff outside of this group with Bill, so I figured that might come up in this interview.
Probably.
And beyond that, I usually play all the Dead music games. You know, you got your Dance Evolution, Keyboard Mania. I don't think anyone in here plays Rocksmith 2014 except me.
If you want to play a dead game, we need to pick back up Potter Potter Paradise.
Oh, hell yeah. I already started charting for that again.
God, yes.
Nice. All right, so Kevin also produced a series of graphics that I'm going to be using next week because I wasn't able to figure out the audio in that time, but the title screen is a mixture of his stuff and what Vince helped us with, so hopefully we'll be getting a little bit spiffier in the following episode.
Spiffier.
All right, so I think last week we went over Japan, and we mentioned in that episode that Bill actually was the person who gave that arcade a name. And we've had requests to talk to Bill, in the weeks that we've been doing this podcast, so that he can give us maybe like a history of his work and his involvement in the music game community. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to devote this entire podcast to Bill and what he's done.
Wow.
So we had some
Y'all
other.
are insane.
Well, I think it warrants it because you've been in the community for as long as you have been, and there's a lot of stuff to cover. So we just
Fair point.
I have a series of questions here and a flow of the overall thing. If you guys want to jump in at any point, that's fine. Just say hey. But for the majority of the interview, basically, we're gonna have Bill explain. And so we've already been over a brief introduction. Do you want to talk about where you were born, or do you want to go straight from Atlanta?
Well, I mean, okay, I guess I'm originally from New York, but I moved down here when I was like 8 years old or something like that. So I still consider myself a northerner, even though I've been down here for most of the time, I guess. But I have lived in Marietta, Georgia since I was 8. Went to Georgia Tech for a little while, somehow survived that place, along with some of y'all. And yeah, I'm still in Marietta.
Yeah, that's where I met Bill. I met Bill at Georgia Tech. So did John Hannafin, Jay Han. You there, buddy?
I'm here.
We spent a lot of
Guess I'm
time.
Good times.
away yet.
Good times playing DDR and Tech Rec
Tech Rec was great, man.
with that amazing DDR Extreme machine with the edit slot. God, I miss it.
We made good use of that machine, let me tell you. But we also played a bunch of like console stuff. We brought a bunch of console stuff to the Tech Rec. Tech Recreation. Tech Rec was the arcade that Georgia Tech still has. Anybody know if
Oh,
it's
it's
still there?
gone. Oh, it's so gone.
It's sort of there, but not good.
They had a bunch of bowling alleys. They had some console spaces. They had arcade machines, but a lot of them got phased out over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, the arcade machines were gone before I left, or like by the time I left, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we all hung out and played games and stuff while we were in college anyway, on campus. So good times.
Those
All
were
right.
excellent.
So when did you start composing music? I guess we could start there.
Well, I mean, unless you count like making a song for my first grade play, probably sometime in like late middle school, early high school, I started getting into a little bit of music production. Um, I remember using MIDI Orchestrator Plus by Voyetra was my first software. Um, then probably started getting into, well, Fruity Loops at the time around, I guess, my sophomore, junior year of high school or so. And I've been using it since.
Nice.
And
So
that
so
was
so
in
you still
2002-ish, probably, I
okay?
guess.
So you're still using FL, I guess now, FL Studio.
Yes, FL Studio. Yes, I am now using FL Studio 12. It's paid for.
Yeah, of course.
That's rare.
I know, right?
What type of hardware do you use in addition to that?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I've tried using various hardware here and there, but most of the time these days I just stick to software synths and stuff. It's just it works better for me.
And you compose mostly on Windows-based systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried using Mac for a little while, tried to switch over to Logic because, oh, that's what all the big boys use. FL Studio is just a toy. And then I found out that it took me like an hour to make something that would take me 5 seconds in FL Studio. So I stuck with it.
I remember one time I went to your Bill used to be in a fraternity at Georgia Tech,
Hmm.
and I went to his frat house, and they had a bunch of well, it was a bunch of dudes there, obviously, but he was showing me some of your equipment. Do you remember when you were showing me some of the equipment that you had, some of the keyboards and stuff?
Hmm.
Do you remember? Do you recall what you had then?
Oh, geez. Okay, it's like at one point I had a Roland Phantom X6. Um, I no longer have that, but it lives on in Deltamax because most of the or half of the sounds from that came like recorded from that. Um, I'm trying to think. I also have had somewhere like just like a little MIDI controller that I think I have packed away in my closet somewhere, but I don't really remember what it is.
I wish I had a photo, but his studio basically was just like his bed and a desk at that time.
Basically.
So speaking of Neomax, I got
Oh God.
well, this is worth discussing because now
Yeah, okay, I guess.
but you were describing to me before, and you actually told me the story on a car ride once that how you compose Neomax, and rather than give the details, if you want to explain to everybody else here how you made it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Neomax was my second attempt at remixing Max 300 because for some unknown reason I have an obsession with that song. I never expected it to become the meme that it is today, and I find that hilarious. But the first one was Max Resurrection, which was terrible. Um, then so Neomax was a thing, and I was thinking I just had the idea at some point when I was bored in my AP Music Theory class because that was one of the classes I took. It was toward the end of the year, and I was thinking, okay, it would be cool to make like a Max remix that goes through the current Maxes and like adds my own little thing in there. So I had installed that program I was talking about, Voyetra MIDI Orchestrator Plus, onto the PC in the chorus room because that's where we did AP Music Theory. And so I would compose little bits on here and there. And then in the orchestra room, which was a couple of doors down, they had a Yamaha PSR 1000, I think it was, which had a much better sound set than just like the general MIDI 128 or whatever it is instruments for the PC. So what I would do is I would compose it on the PC, load it onto a floppy drive, walk down the hall and put it into the keyboard to hear how it sounded with those better sounds. Think about, okay, what do I want to change? Walk back over, plug that back into the PC, and continue with this for about the course of 2 weeks.
So
So there was a lot of walking back and forth involved in making that song.
literally piece by piece over floppy drive.
Basically.
See, the sad
What
thing
year
is,
was this?
Oh my God, Canyon.mid, I remember that. I prefer clouds.
what was that track?
What year was this?
Oh, this was the Neomax thing, I think was 2002.
Jesus. Was I even born?
I was going to say your Neomax probably predates some of the people in this room, which is
Are you serious? Oh, that's terrifying.
it's kind of scary to think.
Just
I know,
NK
right?
Train, I think. NK Train.
NK Train is
Actually, would.
NK Train's
Wow,
by
holy
far
crap,
the
that does-
youngest.
The first time I met Bill was by accident at Dave & Buster's, and like when I saw his username, I didn't realize it was actually him. And I was like, dude, I'm the biggest fan. I've been playing your stuff since I was in elementary school. Like, how old are you? 23. Oh God, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
So we have a term of endearment for all this old people that are still around in the music game community. We refer to ourselves as old heads. So just know if we call you an old head, it's not to be a disparaging remark, Bill.
Oh, it's fine. I'm very much an old head. I'm aware. I'm 32 now.
So it probably goes without saying, but what's your favorite Beatmania game series?
DDR, definitely. I mean, 2DX has been a close runner-up ever since I got into it, but DDR is always going to be my mainstay. I got into that I think around 2000. Well, actually, yeah, I guess DDR was 2002, so Neomax must have been 2003. But yeah, I got into it in 2002 at the Mount Asia in Kennesaw and
Oh,
never went
yeah.
back. Yeah, that machine was great.
That's where I met Bill.
Yes.
What was the DDR mix then? I don't even know.
It was extreme.
Oh, was it Extreme? Okay.
Well, no. When I first went,
Oh,
it
well,
was
when you first
DDR
went,
USA.
Yes, it started. It's a USA. Yeah, it was a USA.
Holy
yeah.
crap.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
DDR USA. Then they changed it to Max 2.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think at the Aladdin's Castle at Town Center, they had Third Mix plus Korean version 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That was
Yeah. Shook
My
by
favorite.
Goofy.
Yeah, Bakwo is my favorite.
Bakwa, yes.
Punk songs.
Yeah, I guess technically it is a pump song too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so
Starring
what
them, too.
and what do you do now? I think some people know what you do now, but for the audience at home who may not know,
Oh, you mean like my job?
yeah, what's your job?
Right.
Are you
Yeah, I
are you
teach
at
math.
liberty to say? Is really the question.
I am a high school math teacher, is what I basically do. I try to make people hate math less, mostly succeed, I think. I have fun with it.
That's good.
And a very frequent contributor to Step It Up.
Oh, jeez, are you serious?
Oh yeah, the hot Jewish dance game.
All your stuff is stolen.
Yeah, and it's
DSE
funny
right.
because I actually work at a Jewish high school. Atlanta Jewish Academy is my high school where I work, and that has absolutely nothing to do with me having my music randomly in Step It Up.
Like DSE
Um,
right.
It's just funny how that works out.
It's a very wholesome game. Let me see
Oh, absolutely.
if I can find a
Well, see,
picture of the thing.
what the funny thing is being around like my students and the other teachers, like the music is a big part of their lives. So like I recognize some of those songs now and some of the artists.
Have you ever considered making a remix from one of those games?
No, but I have DJ'd some of those songs before.
Oh my God.
Because like one of the things that they do at my school is every year they have a thing called Shabbaton where everybody it's like a big retreat for Shabbat or Sabbath, if you will. And everybody goes up to the mountains and like they celebrate together, play games, socialize, and then like after sunset on Saturday, they have a big party. And I want to say my freshman year, like the first year I was teaching there, they asked me to DJ and I did. And I play some of the songs that are on that list invariably. So it's kind of funny how that's managed to work out.
That's awesome. Now you've played a lot of different events. Well, I say a lot. It's mostly like what anime conventions
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, entirely like anime conventions and stuff like that.
And there's a list. I mean, I found a list online, but I'm sure. Were there any more memorable events for you? Because I'm definitely thinking about one, but I want to make sure.
Yes.
I want to
Oh,
ask you
absolutely.
first.
Well, I mean, probably the two best ones. Well, oh geez, there's a couple of them. All right. ASEN 2008 was kind of fun. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing back then, but it was still really fun. SAN Japan was great. Animation and Gaming Ohio was great. but probably one of the highlights was the one that happened right here in Atlanta for AWA, Anime Week in Atlanta. I think that was 2013.
It was, yep.
Yeah, that was the one where Korsuke was also, he was headlining, obviously, because he's Korsuke. And that was a crazy fun show.
Now there was apart from your set, which was great, there was
Thank
something
you.
that very interesting that happened during the show. Some of us probably heard about that. Do you want to recount what happened while you were DJ?
Yeah, I started trying to play my first track, which was supposed to be a song called Pyromaniac, and it set the speakers on fire.
Literally, one of the speakers on
Literally.
stage was smoking and caught on fire during
So
the
I had to
middle
stop.
of Pyromania.
4D. It's the 4D music experience.
That's excellent.
It was very memorable. I really enjoyed that. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good show. And also another just really memorable part of that show, like the serious dog mask was part of that, but also like at some point I had actually met Korsuke some like I think like 7 years prior or something like that, maybe, at Bullmoney Fest up in Massachusetts, which was great as well.
I'm
And like
pulling.
I had met him for the first time up there. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that's when we were going to eat.
Yes, doing the Corsuke post, obviously. And I had met him at some point and we had like swapped information and I didn't really know a lot about him at that point, but we stayed in contact. And then like years later, I'm like, wow, it's a reunion. Except now I'm actually like on stage and this is happening. This is unreal.
And that wasn't the only the only technical difficulty on that stage, by the way. They had all sorts of it wasn't Bill's fault. In other words, it was mostly Awa's fault that things were falling apart. But yes,
It was still fun.
it
I
was
don't
still
fault
fun.
anybody.
Yeah, it was a good time.
If it makes you feel better, AWA is committed to making sure everything falls apart for all attendees, even as of last year.
Oh no.
More from
So-
a business perspective.
So since we're talking about Korsuke, I was sort of meaning to ask, what other sort of Beatmania or music game celebrities do you sort of know or associate with on a first name basis sort of thing?
Well,
First name basis. I mean, not a lot, but there's been a couple I've talked to here and there. One that comes to mind is Camellia. I met him on Skype years ago when he was like, "Hey, I made a remix of Neogenesis, and it's kind of cool." And so I listened to that occasionally here and there. Back then I was like, "Oh, this is cool. It's a nice interpretation of the song." Then years later, I see him doing all this crazy stuff on DDR and 2DX, and I'm like, "Wow, this went off the charts." So that was cool.
well,
I've
if we're going to talk about people you've spoken to, do you want to talk about the person who got you actually in contact with Konami and all that?
Yes. So Stillwind, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stillwind Borenstein, sort of AKA Michael Alamode back in the Gold Rush days. So the reason, and I guess that kind of goes into how all this DDR stuff even actually legitimately happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was a contest on broadjam.com where people just submitted tracks. It was like, hey, get your song into the next DDR. And I was thinking, okay, I do some remixes and stuff here and there. I can probably make something. And I had this song Go, which was it was like Japanese style. Honestly, it's a First Samurai ripoff, if I'm going to be honest. But it's in 5/4 time, so hence the name Go. And so I submitted it and somehow won. I was still, or one of 4 people. There were 2 people from the community. The other, I think, was Zero Fuser, and then 2 other just kind of random but pretty good artists. And so that was a thing. But then the person I was in contact with through all this was Stillwind Borenstein, and I let him know, hey, I also make remixes of DDR tracks just kind of in my spare time. If you ever want me to make one for you guys, let me know. And he said, we'll keep it in mind. And then about a week later, he's like, so would you like to do one of those for us? You can either remix On the Jazz, Ecstasy, or Celebrate Night, and I picked Celebrate Night. And so that turned into Celebrate Night Like It's 99 mix on Ultra Mix 4. And then I basically stayed in contact with him after that.
And then I'm playing the song right now.
What are you playing right now?
Yeah, just a snippet of the start of it.
Of what? Of the Celebrate Night?
Of Celebrate Night, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can't hear it, but everybody else can.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I made that when my computer had recently crashed and I had to just kind of do everything on my parents' computer at home. So that was a fun experience trying to make that. But whatever the case, years later, Konami of Japan, or no, Konami of Hawaii was they sent Stillwind over to Japan, and I forget if that's the same time that the Hawaii office closed. I don't think it was. I think the office was still open. But whatever the case, he was in Japan, and I was still staying in contact with him. And he asked if I wanted to contribute to 2DX. And so that's how Neo Genesis happened. And I think actually that was after I had gone to Japan on Georgia Tech's language for business and technology program in Japan, and I got to actually meet Stillwind there, and Naoki Maeda and Yusami, and there was all sorts of fun details of that meeting if you want to know like a thing or two from that.
Oh, please, yeah. That's what you're here for, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess. So basically, they were set up in Roppongi, and Stillwind invited me down there, and I met up with them at the office, and we all just kind of sat around at a big table. I was doing my best with my broken Japanese that I was learning, although it's probably better than my Japanese ever has been since. And we just talked about stuff like Beatmania in general, 2DX, DDR, bringing it to the United States. At one point I asked, why is Max Period not in the arcades? And they said something like, oh, it's too dangerous.
It's too fast.
And I was like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure my... So that was kind of fun. I showed them some step files that I had made because I wanted to show them, hey, I make steps too, for Stepmania and Konami's office. That could have been really bad. But...
I was gonna say, yes, Konami is aware of Stepmania.
Yes, very much so. Yes, they know. I asked them, are you guys... I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, we know about it. And I showed them steps I was making for songs from Gold, and they're like, wait a minute, Gold is still in arcades. How do you have those songs? And I'm like, God. They're game versions. But yeah, so I showed, that was also when I showed Naoki Deltamaxed, and he thought it was really cool. So that's probably why it ended up on, actual DDR a couple years later.
Oh, so Naoki actually liked, he saw and commented on Deltamax right there.
I think he said yabai.
Wow, I didn't know about that. That's cool.
That was, I'm pretty sure that was the comment he made, yabai. But yeah, so that happened. Then afterward, I guess, was when Empress happened and did Neo Genesis for them. And shortly after that was when stuff happened with Stillwind as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rest in peace, Stillwind. He actually passed away. Do you know the exact reason why he passed away?
It was a ruptured abdominal aorta. I think it's like an aortic aneurysm or something like that. I don't know the medical. Yeah. But like he had apparently had one previously and survived it, and then another one hit and didn't. But he was awesome to work with. So
yeah, shout outs to Stillwind and his family.
Yeah.
If they're listening, they're probably not listening, but if they were listening. So yeah, he was the guy who got you in the door outside of the contest. In other words,
very much so. Very much grateful for it.
Awesome, but Konami's not the only company that you've produced music for, right?
Nope, because shortly after Empress, Konami was, well, okay, so I mean they had the thing where they did X2. X2 I think was the last time that I found out about it being on anything new, and I asked them about like, can I make some more music? And they started being like, we only really want to work with people from Japan now for, it's just easier. So I started talking to people from And Miro for Pump It Up, and so now I make music for their competitor. Well, to be fair, I didn't go straight to Andamiro. To be fair, it started off because of Pump It Up Pro 2, and I had some friends that were working on that game, and then that turned into actual K-Pump. But it started off with like the American community and stuff.
Yeah, you did tracks for Pro, or I'm sorry, for Prime 2, and then eventually, like, didn't they cross over some stuff on Fiesta? Is that how it worked?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, for Pro 2 originally, and then then some of those crossed over to yeah, I think Fiesta EX, I think, is where that showed up probably.
Yep.
I
Yep.
never can keep track of those. Yeah, y'all know better than I do with this.
No, that carried me to the last tournament.
Then and then Pump It Up Infinity, which Pump It Up Infinity, best pump. Don't care what anybody else says. And then that stuff made it on like Prime and Prime 2.
I have a joke with Vincent, but my favorite song is
Hello.
That Move Body.
That move body.
That move body.
Do you have that logo? Handy
God,
by any
there's a
chance, Vince?
logo.
I can. Wait, I have the official title card. Let me bring that up real
Yeah,
quick.
you should pop that into chat so people can see it. See
Yeah.
what we're talking about. You
I mean, I
did you did that with there's a couple tracks you collab with folks.
Yeah. So Move That Body was kind of meant to be sort of a spiritual sequel to Rave Until the Night Is Over, which I wrote in high school. And Rave Until the Night Is Over had Jamie from Jamie and Midi D, aka DJ Slash, doing the rapping, and then Veronica from Smile DK doing the vocals. And then years later, I wanted to make another song like that, and so Move That Body happened. The rapper for that one was Don't You Dare, Vincent. Oh my God, you went there. Okay. Saw that coming. So for that one, I got a friend of mine, Schizo, who I'd known in the community for a while, Evan McKinney. He is a Hawaiian guy who lives in Korea and teaches English over there. And he is a rapper by the name of Schizo. So I got him to do the rap for that. And then the vocalist is Hannah Stockzell, who was the other half of Smile DK. So I have now worked with both halves of Smile DK at one point or another. But that song was meant to be like a tribute to Pump It Up. So there's tons of like references in the song, and like the opening melody of the chorus is based on Funky Tonight, which is like my favorite song still, and all sorts of little references like that.
Yeah, it's worth noting that a lot of your tribute songs tend to have lots of little musical references to other things. I mean, some of them are more obvious than other. Like the early Max remixes they're obvious what they're referencing.
Mhm.
God, when Bill was showing me the lyrics to Move That Body during production, Evan and I was kind of like, Bill, the pun, the dadness.
That's just how Bill is. He loves the puns. It's where he came from.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I'm a math teacher too. Math teachers were kind of required to have puns on hand at any given time, so it's how it goes. It's funny with the rap. I had actually I had actually written a rap for for Jamie. I keep wanting to say DJ Slash sometimes, but I'd written a rap for Jamie because she was working on Kimochi, one of the songs that she had produced for Universe 3, I think, or something like that, and she wanted to make an extended version. So I made like a tribute DDR rap for that, and Naoki was like, "Yeah, we don't want to use it." So I was like, "Okay, fine."
No problem.
And then Move That Body ended up throwing shade at DDR.
Well, it's okay. You've been immortalized now in several arcade games, so I think you can afford to make that type of a move.
We stole
It's
Bill.
funny how that works.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Was
It's
that
2018. It's time to drop a diss track on DDR and Pump.
Yes.
in Dance Rush, right?
Beat
Oh,
Migos.
totally. In Rhythm Horizon, obviously.
In Rhythm Horizon. Nice.
You can make ones of dollars by writing for Rhythm Horizon.
Ones. Okay, well, speaking of money, are you at
I
liberty?
think that's going to be a fun game. What? Can we continue?
Are you at liberty to talk about? Speaking of dollars, are you at liberty to talk about the payment process for any of the people that you worked with? Like, ranges
Um,
of money, or is that something you'd rather keep private?
I'd rather keep actual like numbers private, in all honesty, just out of courtesy. But what I will say is, with some people, it would some games paid less, some games paid more. Obviously, like established companies pay more, but it was never really about that. But it was really useful. The money that came from Konami, from the DDR games, and from 2DX helped me get through college. So that's a plus. That's a win for me.
You hear that,
Um,
people? Konami can fund your education if you make dope tunes.
No, they're not funding mine, fam.
um,
Every credit you spend is paying to somebody else's scholarship fund.
but past that, I mean, I, I don't really care one way or the other with the money. It's been mostly been just because I enjoy doing it.
And that's good. That's actually the enjoyment of the production really should be the main factor. I mean, obviously
Yeah,
money helps, but it's just always interesting to think about.
yeah. And actually, that's one reason that I ended up. I'm kind of currently on a break from music making right now because I needed to dedicate some toward the like the teaching stuff. And one of the reasons that I realized, hey, maybe I back off on things for a little while was because I told some of y'all about this already. For Pump It Up Prime 2, they released the trailer and said, new track by DM ASHURA before I had agreed to make a new track for Prime 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they
So,
do that. So
yeah, so I was like, crap. Oh, I guess on one hand, I guess I have to make something and fun. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I think at this point I need to take a step back for a little bit. But I am looking at hopefully in the near future getting at least back into some music making and just like learning some new stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Speaking of your making new stuff,
Hmm.
your I would say that your style has probably changed over the years.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
And I listened to, and it's been a couple of, by the way, Bill has a SoundCloud. It hasn't been updated in a while, but there is a good spattering of, yeah, that's exactly where I was going, Vince. Annihilator method, which is it still has your same like melodic techniques, but I think the switch to like a more hardstyle track, it's kind of surprising because it's not what you typically do. So I thought it was interesting to maybe to recount like maybe what your influences are.
Yeah.
You were playing with FL Studio earlier and playing some sound samples earlier, so I thought that was if you want to segue into that topic of
Oh,
discussion.
yeah, sure. I mean, so like most of my stuff started off as just like remixes of like the DDR song here. They're usually Max 300 for some reason. Or classical songs I would do. Like there was like Classical Insanity, Fantasy Impromptu, things like that, some better than others. Um, and then like from that, I started getting into kind of more trance music because I always really loved like epic trance stuff like that. Um, and so I kind of worked with that for a while, and I started feeling like it was getting kind of stale. So I started, I guess more recently trying out some other things. Like I guess I started getting into hyper techno because I love para para and tech para
Hmm.
especially, which I guess we'll talk about later. Hyper techno is so much fun for that genre. But also I started getting into freeform hardcore recently and just absolutely loving it. So I decided to sort of give it a shot, and so that's how Annihilator Method happened, for example. Um, Fun fact, Annihilator Method sounds like some kind of, really cool name for a hardcore track, but it's also a method for solving differential equations.
It's always got to throw in the math puns.
oh
Oh,
yeah.
there's so many math puns in my music at this point. Delta Max has unintended puns. I didn't realize that I started in the key of D and ended in the key of A. Somebody told me that, and I was like, oh wow, that's right. Um, but like that being like gradually growing in time. Pyromaniac, um,
TP Maniac.
yeah, TP Maniac,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, I think at some point, I think it was Corey said that I need to stop making songs with Greek letters entirely.
Why is that?
Just because I've done so many of them. There was the Delta, there was the Pi and the Rho, there was another one I did called Psi Squared at some point. I've used the word Omega a number of times.
Yeah, but that's kind of your thing,
Um,
though. Like, I mean, come on.
I know, but
You should use Jewish lettering now.
I totally should. You're right.
And you can stick with the math theme. You can just throw in like an Aleph Null in there.
I would do that, but there's already a much better song called Aleph from BMS
Oh yeah, I
The
forgot about
Fighters.
that BMS song.
That song's amazing. So
Now, if Andamiro asks you for another song, make sure you use Hebrew so they have to implement right to left lettering for no reason other than your song.
no, I don't want to break another music game. And that's referring to the fact that when they tried to put Delta Max onto DDR, they couldn't put in all the BPM changes. There were too many of them. They couldn't implement it accurately.
Well, I remember
we-
someone hacked it into 2DX and it crashed, right?
Yeah, that was for April Fools. Yeah, somebody decided to make I think what happened was a Japanese website. What is it? Is it Textage, I think?
Yeah.
Or Textage, or however you
Yeah,
pronounce
yeah.
that? Probably Textage.
Textage. Yep.
Where you like would have like 2DX charts, and they put up there that there was some kind of super secret bonus of having Delta Max, and they made like a hyperchart and another chart. And so somebody decided, hey, let's actually put that chart in the game, and they made videos of it, and Japan was like, wait a minute, I thought it was a joke.
And well, for those who are, I mean, most people listening to this podcast probably know what Delta Max is, but the gimmick was it starts at what 100 BPM,
Yes.
and then every measure the BPM goes up by 1.
Every beat it goes up by 1.
Every beat it goes up by 1. So by the end of the song, you're going as fast as 573
Yes,
BPM.
Konami BPM. And yeah, that was made actually for that Beatmania Fest that I was talking about earlier. Dikatsa 88, whose name means the cat 88.
Shoutouts to Dan.
Yes, shoutouts to Dan. His name does in fact mean the cat 88, just in case you're aware. But he was like, Bill, make us a Max remix, and I did, and I worked on it with Tora Mulligan was a huge influence as part of it. He made a lot of the background stuff for it, and the original art, which is much better than the Ant. And we debuted it on DDR Forever, which was a Stepmania sort of arcade mix. And it was extra stage too. So we had old school extra stage rules, which was 1.5 speed, reverse, and no recover. So nobody knew how fast it actually went for a long time, until somebody cleared it and realized it was 573. And it's like, Bill.
Was it Hudson who passed it first? I feel like
no, I think it was Kenji actually.
Was it
who passed
Kenji?
first.
Oh my god. Let's talk about a name you haven't heard in years.
I know, right? but Hudson got close. But Hudson redeemed himself by PFCing it later and putting that on video on YouTube.
Of course, yeah. Always want to one up somebody else. Kaze. Shout outs to Kaze. 573.
Hudson.
Well, that's cool, man. There was one more thing I wanted to ask, and then we can probably open up to questions here in a bit. But what are you doing currently? I know you mentioned Para earlier, and you told me previously that you were trying to do a para group.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with it, para, or there's also tech para, is a variant of it. It's basically like a Japanese dance style where you move your hands in time to music. It was like really popular in Japanese clubs. It has booms and busts. I kind of like to think of it as like the Macarena on crack, or synchronized raving or singing along with your hands. But there's literally like hundreds and hundreds of songs that you can learn routines to. And so I've been doing that for a really long time, and I would get together with people at anime conventions. MTAC was a really common one I used to go to, Middle Tennessee Anime Convention. And recently at MomoCon, me and some of my friends from Tennessee, we were holding a panel to teach some people some music. We were doing Running in the 90s. And we actually recruited some people to join us and actually make a legitimate Georgia dance group, basically XD Southeast, which used to have another member who lives in Seattle now, Chris Manning, Eshy. But now we've got like a whole bunch of us.
XD
And we're always
Southeast.
looking for people. Yeah, XD Southeast. It's spelled interestingly. EKSD, but like it's supposed to make you think of like the emoji XD. So it's plays on words and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. But we are like starting to get together and do videos. We're going to be teaching again at MomoCon this year. And I'm just starting to finally find people in Georgia who are like into this stuff and like have actually done it before and get into it. Kevin has been a big part of that.
Hey,
Kevin,
So-
do you want to talk about your involvement too?
so this actually originally started back when I met Bill, like I said, the first time at Dave Buster's, and I saw him off in the corner, as Bill is often wont to do, going through a routine, and I don't even know if I was accurate, but I noticed he was basically doing the chorus to Night of Fire, and I just brought it up casually, like, hey, isn't that the routine to Night of Fire? And Bill was like, wait, you know? He knows the club. We kind of talked a little bit about that, but it wasn't until the MomoCon event that I showed up, and then a whole bunch of other people who I think had done routines at previous conventions, and Bill kind of recognized him again, that we realized we had enough to make a group out of this. It is hard for us to meet or even find places. We're currently averaging like meeting every 5-6 months.
Yeah, we'll eventually do better.
Yeah. A lot of it is just me and Bill out of convenience for a lot of videos, but we do have planned videos. We are part of compilations. I typically do most of the editing for us because why would Team XD ever have a consistent editor?
If you have something, you should post it in the chat too. Like that way people can take a look at it.
I
Do you
I
want
can
me to take
find
it full
something.
circle and put the one that the dab poses from?
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? You can do that if you want. Yeah, we decided to do a routine stop by Domino where you're supposed to do free poses, and we decided, guys, we should dab, and we did. And Kevin made a meme video out of it first, where when we got to the dab part, it turned into 420 Blaze It for a little bit.
Okay. Thanks,
Hold
Kevin.
up. I do. We kind of came up with it on the spot, but it's magic. If you want to get to just that part, it's basically the last third.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna play this right now. So
Okay, let me know when you're done so I can not talk over it.
I'll play the last third, as Kevin is saying. There you go. I should probably play this in the Discord window because that's what I'm capping from, right? Okay. Oh my God! I'm seeing it. What is this?
I figure if we don't get to have fun while we're doing our dancing, I mean, what?
This is a fidget spinner. What in the world? All
The
right.
funny thing is that fidget spinner is actually from Site Read Open 2017. I made it as part of a video where it's all fidget spinners in the background of Degger's cut, and then Vincent's face just shows up in front of it. And ever since then, I've been throwing this fidget spinner into practically every project I could possibly use it.
Oh my God.
It's my
Vincent's
fault.
face- Sorry, what were you saying?
What? Oh, it's my fault.
I'm sure Vincent's face has shown up in a lot of different things.
Yeah,
I was
like
about to say, I'm not even watching this, but from fidget spinner and dabbing, it sounds more like an Atlanta meme video than a para video.
Is there a difference?
Why not both? ¿Por qué no los dos?
Both.
Kimchi fingers. I still need to make that.
Oh my
yes,
God.
we do.
Yeah, Vincent and I have had a running joke that I need to make a Monkey Fingers style song called Kimchi Fingers with him doing the vocals.
Okay.
Is that the paranoia face?
No, it's from Pump.
Yeah, that's from Monkey Fingers.
Oh.
Oh my God.
We're gonna bring back Banya.
Yes. DM Banya.
Well,
DM Banya.
I'm looking forward to the D. Oh yeah, we've been talking this whole time. We never really said what DM stands for.
Okay, all right. So, when I first started making, music of my own, I tried the name DJ Demon because, what angsty high schooler doesn't think that's a good idea? But at some point people were like, no, you can't call yourself DJ anything because you don't have turntables. And I was like, well, crap. And then I was talking to somebody. I've never been able to track this person down. Her name was Nematocyst or something like that. But she said, well, you could come up with a different title. You make music digitally. So there's, D for digital. And you make music that has orchestra influences, decently often. So M for maestro. So DM stands for digital maestro. And it's stuck since then.
Nice. Well, yeah, people tend to make little puns like discrete math. Sure, I don't know if you're watching the chat
Yes.
right now,
Of course, yes.
but that's that. Once and for all, Digital Maestro. And speaking of which, Digital Maestro, do you still have copies of your album anywhere? Can people still
Not that I
purchase it?
know of. I mean, they might be on. Well, does My DJ So Bad even exist anymore?
No, I don't think so. That was an old Beatmani style
Yeah,
vendor
I mean,
thing.
There's a copy in my
the
house.
guys, yeah, the guys from Beatmani Style, Eddie Lehecka, was, he helped me get that up and running, and we honestly, grossly, or I grossly overestimated how many people would be interested because I remember asking people, and they were like, "Sure, I'll totally get it," and then when it was actually out, they're like, "Eh." So we made a bunch more copies than we really could have sold, but it was fun at least to make the album.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and Tora did the artwork, right?
Yes, he did. And it's funny, it kind of looks like him, honestly. Like, um, it really kind of he's just a really good artist, in all honesty. But yeah, he made that. And the back is like there's, um, I think actually I'm looking at that, and I'm pretty sure the music that I think that was Neomax. Actually, I think that was actually
Oh,
the sheet music for
on the sheet music.
Neomax.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I think that's true.
Well, I mean, well, you made it, so obviously we would believe anything you say. I mean, obviously it's yours. It's your album, so that's awesome. All right, well, we've got about 10 minutes left, so I think what I'm going to do now is open it up for questions and stuff. If you guys, anybody in the Discord chat, if you guys have any burning questions for DM Ashura, Bill over here, feel free to speak up.
Yo.
This is just a minor question, but I tried to ask. It's just, does the binary have any significance if that sheet music is the Delta or the Neomax?
Probably. I don't remember what it is. I should ask
Real.
Tor. He probably still remembers.
It probably does spell out something because every leading number is a zero, which means it's ASCII.
Of course, you would realize that. That sounds about right.
Hidden
Fun
lore.
fact, kids, ASCII is 7-bit, not 8-bit.
Digital Maestro ARG right here.
All right, well,
Interesting.
in the next 10 minutes, I expect somebody to transpose those letters onto a ASCII converter and tell me what it says.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because there's been I've also hidden messages in my music before. I did a soundtrack for Gundamonium Collection, which is like a bullet hell game. And one of the songs that I was supposed to like remaster, like recreate the soundtrack, and for one of the songs, it sounded like Morse code, sort of. So I created an actual Morse code message and put it into the song, and I don't think anybody's actually noticed. So maybe if somebody looks it up, it's the song called like pee 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 or something like that. So if anybody figures that out, it's a message from like 2011.
Didn't Nathan do translation stuff for Gundamonium, or am I thinking something else?
I think
He
I
did
think
it
he
for
did.
actual
Yeah.
Toho, I think.
Yeah, he worked for Toho, but he's done several translations. I want to say Gundamonium was probably one of his projects, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
We can confirm with him later, but I feel like that because I recognize this game, and I feel like this was something that one of either him or one of my friends worked on.
I mean, it sounds right to me too.
Could be. I don't know.
Nathan,
I have a
shout
question.
outs to Nathan, Penguin Man. All right, go ahead.
Who do you think hates their song more, Korsuke and Cleone, or you and Neomax?
Probably. Oh, geez.
What?
Korsuke just remade Cologne, so I think you'd have to go to Bill on this one.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So Alex Velasco has been asking me to make Neomax Eurobeat style for years, and I keep telling him no. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Neomax is probably the most hated. But it got me where I am now, so whatever. I've learned to accept it at this point. I'll accept it.
Thank you. Any more questions?
So, who's excited for the next Garlic Squad in Atlanta?
Yes, Garlic
Man.
Squad!
Yeah, I'm looking at the survey right now, and I got 9 responses, and it looks like April 21st, Saturday, is like our next best shot, unless you want to do future dates. But if we want to go ahead and just get that secured, I'm down.
Did you post about that in the announcements channel or events
I
anywhere?
posted it in the organization.
Let me check that.
Yeah.
Are you going to that, Bill?
Probably.
All
I
right,
love
so
Garlic Squad. It's been such a good thing.
meet
I'm
I
DM
miss Iron
ASHURA.
Age.
I'm seeing that people want the next Garlic Squad at Hado Ichiban, unless people have other options, or
That's
unless we
so
want to,
expensive.
Countess Garlic Squad?
unless we want to like go last minute and do Dragon Barbecue again.
Dude, I need that student ID discount though.
I think that ended.
What?
Yeah, that was only for a limited time.
Oh, damn.
Rest in peace. Breakers, yeah. We're all gonna go in like
2
after
p.m.
closing.
I would
Yeah,
try
that too.
Breakers. I've heard good stuff.
I thought they closed the breakers though, or am I thinking something else?
No,
No,
don't tell
it's,
us that.
It's they recently started closing like in they stopped taking in people an hour before they actually closed their kitchens down.
Oh, that's what it was.
Because there's a bunch of Korean students who serve, and everyone in the Korean community knows each other, and all their parents are just like, hey, my child needs to study, and it's just kind of like they kind of have to take that route and just let them go early. So like the people who actually fall behind are like mainly like very few of the staff and as for whatever's whatnot. It's Korean businesses.
Wow,
It's
what
just-
kind of leverage did the Korean parents have? They can just go up to the companies and say, "Let my kid off work."
Pretty much. I mean, we literally all know each other. Like I recently just learned that my dad knows this the owner of Dragon Barbecue and Breakers. I guess owning.
So
Apparently
Garlic
they
Squad. Well,
also know the people with 167 as well.
I don't know, maybe.
Garlic
I guess
Squad is what now? Just so people who are listening.
Garlic Squad is mainly just an excuse for all of us to get together at like at a restaurant. They're mainly Korean barbecue restaurants because we ask for like a ridiculous amount of garlic, and we just kind of just go and just come out and just chill and hang out and just have a good time.
And so the next major one is on the. You thinking it's going to be on the 21st?
I can go ahead and do it on the 21st because I've seen that's like the one with the most votes along with some other dates. But if people are down, I can go ahead and get that secured, and it's just a matter of where we want to where we want to eat.
Do you post like a Facebook event or something like that?
Yeah,
Whenever.
it's how it works is it's a private. I make it a private Facebook event, and I send invites. And in the Discord and on my personal page, I will post if anyone is interested in the Garlic Squad hangouts. Then just PM me or comment for an invite, and I will get you in.
All right, great. Yeah,
Into the secret club.
into the
This
secret
podcast
club.
is gonna get out the word. It's gonna be like
Secret Live.
next Garlic Squad.
It's
Yeah,
garlic live.
One of my
Garlic
neighbors.
Squad Secret Live right there.
Yeah, one of my neighbors is a cop, and apparently somehow he heard about like our Garlic Squad, and he was like, "Is that some type of cult or some shit?"
It's like a gang.
It's a gang.
Gang.
You should have said yes, it is.
Yes.
We push up the Stonecrest for a whole lot of gang shit.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so then
But yeah,
that'll be your next
I guess I'll get to
opportunity
that tonight. Yeah.
to meet Bill in public. He does exist.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Garlic.
I think it's been a pretty good show. What do you guys think?
Pretty
Pretty
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Not bad.
Thanks, Taisuke.
Who's got a question?
Go ahead, Wirt.
I got a question. Yeah. So do you have any current favorite memes right now?
Oh jeez. Well, I tend to get to memes late to the game. I mean, like,
maybe something like this. Hold on.
Oh my god.
yeah, that okay. All right. The reason that I really like that, okay, I started at my tutoring center. Whenever a student got 100% on a thing that they were working on, I used to draw the awesome face. I just kind of did it offhand once, and then it started turning into um its own thing. I started doing it all the time. Anytime somebody got a 100 on something, so that became a thing. But yes, I like the awesome face.
I've seen it multiple times over the years. We don't even actually have it on the server. I'm surprised.
Somehow,
But anyway, yeah, that's awesome face.
yes.
Skizzo's next space.
Skizzo is known for having like a off-tilt, happy, open-mouth face. He's kind of a weird guy. He's got a lot of history too. He's current.
Episode 4, Schizo.
Well, yeah, he's not
I-
from Georgia at all. He's from Hawaii, and I think he lives in Korea now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think most recently my favorite has been the expanding brain meme, which I mean has been done to death. But I
Dude,
recently
that's
made a
okay.
version of it for my students. In my EP Calc class, I put this up on our Google Classroom.
Hey, that's how I did it. I failed.
Me.
I have one, but I think I'll wait until the stream is done to post it.
Oh.
Kind of not safe for work.
Maybe a good idea.
Yeah,
The
let's not-
Galaxy Brain's aesthetic
Director's cut.
Yeah,
Wordle, the king
let's
of
not do that.
shitposting.
All right, well, I think we are gonna wrap up the show right now. It's been a good
Okay,
Tell
one.
thank
me
you
when
guys
you
for having me
stop
on here.
recording.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bill, for taking some time out to talk about your history and get some cool memes I hear at the end.
No problem.
And if any of you want to be a part of all this magic, we'll be at MomoCon Saturday, 8:30 in the morning, unfortunately, because
some
we're the
reason.
unpopular kids at the Unpopular Kids Convention. We may have a second panel for a Para exhibition, but they're being really wishy-washy about it. So really only the 8:30s can come on by. It'll be a good time. I think we agreed we're doing the One Piece second opening, Dreaming of You.
Yep,
And it'll
by
be a
Lolita.
fun old time.
Yep, para. If you want to learn to do it, it's kind of fun.
8:30
Also come to
on
MomoCon for
Saturday?
a group picture at the Tokyo Attack area because I actually do want to get that in.
Cool.
Family
Yes.
reunion.
Part 2.
Yeah, I think
Tokyo Attack is the best thing that happened to MomoCon. Anthony Capobianco.
Anthony
Tokyo Attack is
Capo
also one of the best
Bohanko.
things that's ever happened to Beatmania in the U.S. in general.
Agreed.
Anthony
Agreed.
Copacabana.
And I think we'll have Dance Maniacs again. And Dance
Ah.
Maniacs, yes.
Dance Maniacs,
So-
really.
Yeah, so learn the routine to Rave Until the Night is Over because you can actually do the Para routine to that song in Dance Maniac.
Oh, that's
Wait,
cool.
what?
Yeah, Rave Until the Night is Over and Dance Maniacs. All the songs that have tech para or para routines that are in Dance Maniacs, you can actually follow along and do the routine and it'll hit the notes correctly.
Seriously, that's amazing. Also,
'Cause
brain powers in it.
Yeah, Night of Fire, Dynamite Rage Superhero are the two I've confirmed that it actually works with.
Wow, that's really cool. I still want us to, I still want one of these days to like find a way to get either, I mean, wishful thinking would be Dance Evolution, but if not that, Para Paradise to like put tons of other songs on it, like actual power routines.
You're
It'd
gonna
be so
have
much fun.
to talk to oh man, what's his name? The guy who redid Dance Maniacs, Alan. I can't remember. Well, I don't know what he goes by online.
Catastrophe.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Alan is a madman, and he remade Dance Maniacs from the ground up, and that's what we're referring to right now. It's got a bunch of custom songs, and it'll probably be at MomoCon, so you can go check that out as well in the arcade section,
You can let the bass kick.
or
I
play
mean,
Space Jam.
obviously, he cares if he takes the time to chart actual para routines.
Oh, he's crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
He's insane. He's got all sorts of. I was talking to Sponge about it, and apparently there's all sorts of like secret songs and codes and stuff you can put in, but most of the time they're disabled because the machine's on event mode, so that's unfortunate. You can't play those. But in addition to that, you've got ridiculous stuff like Space Jam in the default song list. So, all
That is hilarious.
right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end this show. But again,
Okay.
thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
I haven't decided on a topic for next week's show yet. If you guys have any suggestions, be sure to post in the Burger King Foot Lettuce channel, because that's where all the
Or on the spreadsheet.
or on the spreadsheet. If you guys have a preference for something to talk about. But again, thanks everybody for joining in. I'm playing the theme song right now, so You guys can't hear that, but I can.
Aha.
All right. Well, everybody say goodbye.
All right.
Ice cream.
Bye.
Later.
Good night.
Every hour is happy hour.